Right, we're going to kick this video off with a big and bold statement. I think that this lens perfectly encapsulates why the Micro Four Thirds system is absolutely ideal for wildlife and sports photography. I mean, just look at the size of this. This is a 50 to 200 millimeter lens, f2.8. That's a constant aperture right through the zoom range. That's giving you a full frame equivalent of 100 to 400. And then of course you've got the option to pop a 2x converter on there as well to essentially give you the full frame equivalent of 200 to 800. But look at the size of it and the weight of it. I mean, it is just so hand holdable, which is exactly how I've been shooting with it all the time. And this is coming from someone who actually has had pretty bad conditions to shoot in. Terrible weather, bad light actually, a lot of very heavy rain and very strong wind, which actually made finding wildlife pretty difficult. A little bit challenging, if I'm totally honest with you. But that was kind of perfect to really test this lens out because, you know, a lot of lenses are going to perform well in ideal conditions, right? Good lighting, nice weather, you're having a good time because it's just very pleasant to be out. When it's not so pleasant to be out, you want something that's going to be able to stand up to those kind of conditions, right? You want something that's going to be able to deal with the not so great light. And that's exactly what I think this lens is capable of doing. So like I say, let's just recap that. 50 to 200, so full frame equivalent 100 to 400. f2.8 aperture all the way through that zoom range, which is remarkable. That's giving you so much light. And like I say, that's perfect for indoor sports as well. Absolutely ideal in those situations where you can't control the light like that. And maybe it's just not great light to begin with. Image stabilized as well, which when you combine it with something like this, so I'm shooting on the OM1 Mark II, means that handheld, this is just so, it's just so usable, so easy to get the shots you want to get. Now, of course, you're still going to want to use a nice fast shutter speed for those fast moving subjects, but it just gives you more flexibility for the way you want to shoot. And if you want to shoot handheld video as well, that's where that's going to come in really, really handy. You don't have to have this on a monopod or on a tripod. And especially because it's so light, it's very, very easy to pan with this, to just have it handheld the whole time, and also to walk around with it. Now, if you're a wildlife photographer, if you're someone who's into that, you'll know just how useful it is to be able to not have to put this away, to not have to clip this onto anything, just keep it in the hands, because things happen. So just to be able to bring that up and take the shot is just so useful. Something else which I thought was really quite cool actually on this lens is you can actually focus pretty close for what is a telephoto zoom lens like this. So down to 78 centimeters, which meant I was actually able to get in much closer than I originally thought I would be able to with this lens to subjects and to just various different things, which comes in more handy than you'd think. And you've got a nice set of controls on the lens here to actually help with that kind of thing. So the focus distancing, for example, which is super useful for whatever you want to shoot and making sure you are focusing on the right stuff, as of course it is on lots of telephoto lenses. But I like that there's the option to go close, full range, or far here, which I think is great. Of course, things like AF/MF switch, IS on and off. And you've also got custom buttons on the lens as well, which can be really useful for setting to do different things. The zoom is entirely internal, which I think is great, especially when, you know, you're out in pretty bad conditions with rain and stuff like that. It means you're not getting rain kind of going inside and all that kind of thing when you're using the lens, which is great. You know, it's a great tool for that kind of thing. I do find that the actual zoom ring is maybe a little bit looser than I'd like. It's such a minor complaint, to be honest, but I guess I like it a little tighter than this, although that said, it was incredibly easy to actually lock onto a subject and then zoom in. And that's another thing that works incredibly well with this lens. You know, with the OM1 Mark II, that autofocus is just lightning fast. I'm tracking subjects without even having to tell the camera what subjects I'm looking for, right? Obviously the camera is doing a large amount of that work, but the lens is keeping up, absolutely. And whether I'm shooting birds in flight, my dog running around, a plane in the sky, it was locking on and it was tracking that subject. It was very, very easy. It means the whole thing is just incredibly useful as a tool for a photographer or videographer. Image quality wise, this is beautiful. This is absolutely wonderful. It's very sharp. It looks great. The fall off of the bokeh is really nice and smooth. f2.8 is a fantastic aperture to be able to shoot at this kind of focal range with. I think that looks fantastic, but it's also just so usable. You can be able to get so many good shots with a lens like this in so many different situations. And as a lens that is, you know, designed as a tool, right? Because that is what it's doing. It's doing a job for you. It is making your life so much easier. And, you know, I'll be totally honest with you. I've had terrible weather, terrible light. This is still probably one of my favorite wildlife lenses I've ever used. I'd love to use it in conditions where it was actually more fun to go out, but it's just so lovely to be able to walk around with a lens with this kind of capability that is this size and weight. I'm never going to get over that with Micro Four Thirds system. You're getting such lovely results and quality, both optically and in the design of the lens itself, in such a small and lightweight package. Now you can check out the full spec of this lens, everything you want to know, pricing, all the interesting little bits by heading over to parkcameras.com. I'll pop a link down in the description so you can check that out for yourself. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well, because there's new content all the time. I'll see you in the next video, but until then, as always, thanks for watching.